Chosen ones, your pain isn't random, it's unlocking a hidden energy inside you. We come into this world wrapped in forgetting. From the moment we're born, layers of noise, expectation, and illusion begin to cover the truth of who we really are. And yet, there are some of us who never fully fall asleep. We walk through life with a strange feeling that something is off, like there's a deeper reality we can't quite touch, but it's always there just beneath the surface. You've felt it, haven't you? That achy in your chest that has nothing to do with heartbreak. That restlessness that no job, no relationship, no success can ever satisfy. That's the call. That's the sign that you are one of the chosen ones. And if you are, then your pain has never been random. It has been your initiation. I know it sounds strange. How could the suffering you've endured, the betrayal, the abandonment, the depression, the anxiety, how could all of that have purpose? How could it be anything other than cruel? But here's the deeper truth that most people never realize. Pain isn't punishment. Pain is a portal. It's the teacher the soul trusts most. Because pain doesn't lie. It doesn't wear a mask. It doesn't pretend. It goes straight to the core. And in that raw, unbearable center, something ancient wakes up, but something powerful that's been asleep inside you for lifetimes. A hidden energy, a divine current, a force so sacred that only suffering can unlock it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
You were never meant to live a normal life. That's why normal things never satisfied you. That's why you felt like an outsider even in rooms full of people. That's why your emotions seemed louder, your questions deeper, your dreams more vivid. You weren't just sensitive, you were tuned to a higher frequency, tuned to feel what others numb. And because of that, you were given pain not as punishment, but as a compass. Every wound was pointing you inward. Every heartbreak was turning your face toward your soul. Every loss was stripping away what you thought you were so you could remember what you've always been. And what is that? What are you really? You are energy. You are consciousness. You are the universe experiencing itself through a temporary form. But more than that, you are a vessel for something sacred, something ancient, something cosmic, and that something can only flow through you when you are emptied of everything false. That's why the pain had to come, not to destroy you, but to cleanse you, to break the shell, and to shatter the illusion, to make space for the divine energy that was always meant to move through you. Your pain is not a detour, it is the path. But most people run from it. They numb it, deny it, escape it. And in doing so, they miss the doorway. They never realize that on the other side of their suffering is a power they've never known. But not you. You stayed. You felt what others refused to feel. You cried when others laughed to cover the silence. You sat in the storm while others ran for shelter. And because of that, something inside you has started to shift. You're beginning to feel it, aren't you? The subtle sense that you're not who you used to be, that your wounds are becoming weapons, that your scars are starting to shine. Let me ask you something. What if the worst thing that ever happened to you was actually the beginning of your awakening? What if the pain you thought would break you was actually carving open a space inside you for God to enter? Would you still see it as a curse, or would you start to see it as the sacred fire it truly is? There's a reason the mystics and sages of every tradition went through intense suffering before they reached enlightenment. Because the soul must be tempered. It must be tested. It must be stripped of everything shallow and false. But only then can it carry the weight of what it came here to do. And you, whether you realize it yet or not, came here to do something extraordinary. You came here to break generational chains, and to speak truth in a world addicted to lies, to hold light in places where darkness has reigned for centuries. That's not a small task. That's a holy mission. And holy missions require holy preparation. Your pain was that preparation. It was the divine sculptor chiseling away your ego, your pride, your illusions. It was the sacred fire, burning away everything that isn't you. And now, standing in the ashes, something new is rising. There's a version of you that is not defined by trauma, but informed by it. A version of you that doesn't just survive, but alchemizes. That turns pain into wisdom. That turns wounds into wisdom. That turns suffering into sacred energy. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't have to do anything special to access this power. You already are it. The unlocking has already begun. Every time you chose to stay instead of run, to feel instead of freeze, to open instead of close, you activated another layer. You remembered something that cannot be taught, only remembered. This energy inside you, it's not just for you. It's meant to ripple out, to heal others through your presence, your story, your example. You become a living transmission, not because you're perfect, but because you're real, because you're whole in your brokenness, because you carry light in your shadow. This is the beginning of your return, the return to your essence, the return to your truth, the return to the version of you that remembers why you came here. And yes, the road ahead will still have challenges, but now you'll face them differently. Now you'll know that every pain is not an end, but an unlocking. That every breakdown is a breakthrough in disguise. That every dark night is a womb, not a tomb. So now the question becomes, will you trust it? Will you trust that the pain wasn't random, that it was a sacred design? Will you walk through the fire knowing it's waking up the divine within you? The energy beneath the pain, how suffering activates the forgotten power in your DNA. There's something ancient living inside you, something older than your name, older than your memories, older even than your bloodline. It doesn't speak in words, but in pulses, in dreams, in the quiet, knowing you can't explain. This inner force, this coded energy, has been sleeping, waiting for the right moment to awaken. And that moment has always been tied to pain. Not just emotional pain, but soul-level rupture. The kind of pain that cracks you open from the inside and rearranges the way you see everything. Because only that kind of intensity can reach deep enough to activate what has been hidden. What if every time you felt broken, it was actually your DNA recalibrating? What if your spiritual blueprint, the part of you that holds your divine gifts, was never meant to activate through comfort, but through chaos? You see, ordinary lives don't require extraordinary awakenings. But you were never meant to be ordinary. And because of that, your path was never going to be smooth. It was designed to trigger you, to test you, to awaken something inside you that cannot be awakened any other way. Pain is not just an emotional experience, it is a spiritual signal, a key that unlocks a deeper layer of your being. When you were at your lowest, when life stripped everything you thought you needed, when you lost the people, the titles, the safety, you were being brought face to face with your essence. Because when all the false layers fall away, the only thing left is truth. And that truth has power. It's not the kind of power the world teaches us to chase. It's not loud or flashy. It's quiet, steady, magnetic. It lives in your cells, in your breath, in the silence behind your thoughts. And once it's unlocked, it doesn't just change your life, it changes your frequency. You begin to emit a different energy. People feel it before you speak. Animals respond to it. Strangers trust you. The world begins to organize itself around your vibration because you are no longer living from ego, you are living from soul. And this isn't some mystical theory. It's real. Science is just beginning to catch up to what the mystics have always known, that trauma, pain, and emotional intensity create biochemical changes in the body that can trigger dormant strands of DNA, awakening potentials that were previously inaccessible. Indigenous cultures have understood this for centuries. That's why rites of passage often involve suffering, not to punish, but to awaken. Because without pressure, the diamond never forms. Without fire, the gold cannot be purified. Without darkness, the seed cannot sprout. Your pain was the pressure. Your suffering was the sacred fire. And now, you're beginning to sense it, aren't you? That something has shifted. That the things that used to shake you no longer have power over you. That you can sit in silence without needing to fill it. That you can feel deeply without drowning. That you can love without losing yourself. These are not small things. This is evolution. This is resurrection. This is the divine energy inside you finally beginning to move. But this energy is not here to make your life easier, it's here to make your purpose clearer. Because once awakened, it doesn't let you lie to yourself anymore. It won't let you stay in dead-end relationships, in jobs that drain you, in patterns that sabotage you. It demands truth. It demands alignment. And yes, that can be terrifying. Because once you feel this power flowing through you, you realize you can no longer play small. You can no longer pretend you're powerless. You can no longer hide behind excuses. The energy is asking something of you. It's asking you to become, to step into the version of yourself that was always coded into your soul, but buried beneath fear and conditioning. So I ask you, if you knew your pain had a purpose, would you still resist it? If you knew your greatest suffering was the very thing awakening your spiritual technology, would you still run from it? Or would you begin to honor it, to sit with it, to ask it what it's trying to teach you? Because behind every emotion you've avoided is sacred information. Behind every breakdown is a blueprint. Behind every wound is a key. And as this energy awakens in you, you'll notice something else. You'll start to remember. Not facts or timelines, but a deeper memory, a soul memory. You'll remember that you've been here before. That this isn't the first time you've carried light through darkness. That this pain was part of a contract you made before you came here. A contract to awaken, to rise, to help others rise. And that memory will bring peace, even in the chaos. Because you'll know this isn't random. It never was. You are not just healing, you are activating, becoming the conduit, how to channel the energy your pain has unlocked. Now that the energy has begun to awaken within you, the real work begins, not the work of chasing, but the work of channeling. You are no longer the same person who broke down beneath the weight of the pain. You are becoming the conduit, the vessel, the bridge between what is and what can be. And that is not symbolic, that is literal. The energy your pain has unlocked is real. It moves through your nervous system. It expands your perception. It sharpens your intuition. And it changes the way you interact with the world. But it must be directed. It must be embodied. If not, it will turn inwards, creating anxiety, restlessness, and confusion. Energy without purpose becomes chaos. But energy given a channel becomes transformation. This is where many people get stuck. They feel the power, they sense the shift, but they don't know what to do with it. So they go back to their old lives, try to fit into containers that are now too small, relationships that no longer align, environments that suffocate the very energy they've unlocked. And they wonder why they feel worse. But the truth is simple. Once your soul has been stretched by awakening, it cannot shrink back to who you used to be. You can't unknow what you now know. You can't unfeel what you've already felt. The only way forward is through embodiment. So what does it mean to become a conduit? It means allowing this energy to flow through you, not just to you. It means turning the lessons from your pain into medicine for others. But you don't need a platform or a title to do this. You don't need permission. You simply need to be present, to listen, to speak when truth moves through you, to create when inspiration strikes, to hold space for those still walking through the fire you've already survived. You become the lighthouse not by shouting, but by shining. You become the healer not by fixing others, but by embodying wholeness. But you become the teacher not by knowing everything, but by remembering who you are. But channeling this energy also requires discipline. Not in a rigid, ruler-based way, but in a sacred, attuned way. But you must learn to care for your vessel. You must learn to ground, to breathe, to be still. Because the more energy you carry, the more important it is to cultivate inner stillness. Power without presence becomes volatility. But power anchored in awareness becomes wisdom. That's why spiritual practices matter not for religion or ritual, but for regulation. Meditation becomes your sanctuary. Movement becomes your release. Nature becomes your mirror. Silence becomes your teacher. And as you deepen into this embodiment, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to become magnetic, not in a superficial, attention-seeking way, but in a soluble, gravitational way. People are drawn to you without knowing why. Opportunities begin to align. Synchronicities become constant. Life starts speaking to you through symbols, signs, and sensations. This is not magic, it's resonance. You are now operating at a frequency that reflects your truth, and the universe always responds to truth. Always. And day. But here's the part most people don't talk about. The more light you carry, the more shadows you'll illuminate. Not just in the world, but in yourself. Awakening does not mean escaping the dark. It means becoming so rooted in your light that you can walk into any shadow and not lose yourself. It means being able to hold pain without becoming it, to witness fear without feeding it, to move through doubt without surrendering to it. This is the mastery of the chosen ones, not that they never struggle, but that they learn to struggle consciously. They learn to transform even the heaviest energy into fuel for their purpose. So ask yourself, what do you want to do with this energy? What would your life look like if you allowed the pain you've endured to become your power? What would shift if instead of asking, "Why me?" you asked, "What now?" Because the truth is, you're not here just to heal, you're here to create. You're here to build something from the ashes. You're here to write the book, paint the vision, start the movement, raise the frequency. And you don't need to wait until you feel ready. You're never going to feel ready. The energy moves when you move. The clarity comes when you commit. You're not crazy. You're not lost. You're not broken. You're awakening. You're remembering. You're becoming. And the universe is watching not to judge you, but to support you. Because when you say yes to your power, life says yes to you. When you honor the energy that pain has unlocked, you step into the timeline that was waiting for you all along. Not just a better version of the past, but an entirely new reality, a reality designed for who you really are. The final shift, living as the embodiment of your divine frequency. This is the moment where everything changes, not because something external forces it, but because you've finally chosen to live from your core. You've walked through the fire, stood face to face with your shadows, and now the question is no longer what happened to me, but who have I become because of it? That is the final shift, when pain is no longer your identity, but your initiation. When your story is no longer a wound, but a weapon. When your life speaks louder than your words, because your energy is aligned with something eternal. There is a frequency that only you can embody. It isn't copied, it isn't learned. It's remembered. And it only activates when you stop living from fear and start living from truth. That frequency is your divine signature. It's the vibration of your fully expressed soul. And when you anchor into it, when you stop performing, stop pretending, stop apologizing, you become unstoppable. Not in a loud, dominant way, but in a quiet, unshakable way. You don't chase, you attract. You don't explain, you embody. You don't seek validation, you are validation. But to live at this frequency takes courage, because it means letting go of every version of yourself that was built to survive. The one who dimmed their light to fit in. The one who played small to keep others comfortable. The one who wore masks to feel safe. You thank those versions, you honor them, but you don't need them anymore. You've outgrown them. And that's what transformation really is. It's not becoming someone else. It's remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. So how do we live as the embodiment of this frequency? We begin by choosing integrity over approval. That we speak what's true, not what's safe. We move with intention, not reaction. We become the calm in the chaos, the light in the confusion, the clarity in the noise. And we stop waiting for permission. The awakening has already happened, and the pain already unlocked it. Now it's about walking it, living it, breathing it. We shift our relationships not by forcing others to change, but by refusing to shrink anymore. We shift our work not by chasing money, but by aligning with purpose. We shift our health not by fear of disease, but by remembering our body is a temple that carries the divine. Every part of life becomes sacred not because it's perfect, but because you finally see through it. You finally understand that everything is energy. Every choice is a spell. Every thought is a vibration. Every word is a frequency broadcast into the field. And this is where life begins to mirror your essence. Synchronicities stack. The right people appear and the right opportunities unfold. Not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. Because your vibration is no longer rooted in lack or trauma, but in remembrance. You remember that you are not here to be a victim of circumstances. You are here to be a creator of realities. And the reality you create is a reflection of the frequency you embody. So ask yourself, in this moment, what are you embodying? Are you still playing out the patterns of your pain, or are you living from the energy it unlocked? Are you still living small to be loved, or are you ready to be seen in your full light? Can you allow your presence to be your prayer, your life to be your legacy, your energy to be your offering? Because in the end, that's what matters. Not how much you've achieved, not how much you've collected, but how much of your soul you've expressed, how deeply you've lived, how fully you've loved, how fearlessly you've shown up as you. You are the chosen one not because you are better, but because you are willing to feel, willing to see, willing to rise, and now willing to be. So be it.